How about this SEC championship game? Are you going to be on the field for this? Did I hear that you're doing the megacast?
You heard correctly. It's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. I've done this now. This is the third year in a row that I've done it. So we did TCU Michigan. We did Sugar Bowl last year. So now SEC championship game. Of course, we know what happened Georgia Texas last time. Incredible game. Excited to see how it might be a little bit different this time. Marty and McGee will be down there with me. It's going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So my feel on this is I like the spot for Texas a lot. I felt like when that first game went down, situationally, the way it played out, it's probably not going to be duplicated. Now, that doesn't mean Georgia couldn't go win by 3 touchdowns the next time they play. It just probably won't look like Georgia starting in plus territory on their drives as much as they did the first time around. But I am so interested with the way Texas was able to run the ball on A&M and just the overall challenge that Sark said I gave this entire organization when we self-assessed a month ago. We know where we want to get. We know what elements we're lacking, and we think we should have those elements. And they've run the ball better. And I actually think it's Georgia probably that has the tougher time running the ball this Saturday. I just like what Texas brings right now more, man. I think they are ready to peak at the right time. I think offensively they need to play at about a 6 level, 1 to 10 scale, because of how complementary defensively they can be. I mean, they can win a game like they did last week. They didn't need to score 20 points, and they won a game. I feel like it's their time. How do you see this?
Yeah, I like Texas right now. I think some of this is going to have to do with, and you've seen this happen, we've all seen this happen, Kirby Smart, the master motivator, where he can make his team believe that nobody thinks that they have any chance to win. They come out and they just play like their hair's on fire. I said coming out of that game last time on my show that it felt like Georgia had a point to prove, that they just had a little more expletive about them. And they went out there and they did that. Like they knocked Texas around. They pushed them around. They punched first and punched last in that game. Can that happen again? Can it happen to that extent? I do feel like the Texas confidence should probably be a little bit better. And I'm always intrigued with the second time around. Is it the team that has the confidence from, all right, we beat you. We know we can do this. We beat you last time. Or is it the team that says, well, if we didn't do this, and we can correct those mistakes and approach this from a different angle, we have better opportunity. I don't think Georgia has a lot of success running the football. If they get in third and longs, I think they're in trouble, because I think Colin Simmons, Trey Moore can give the Texas tackles, who have been a bit of a liability in pass protection this year, some real problems. Go back to last week, 2 things happened with the Georgia offense. One, I think Mike Bobo did an incredible job hiding the tight ends and utilizing the tight ends in different ways, whether it was quick throws, whether it was having extra blockers, whether it was check down screens. He used the tight ends extremely well. The other thing that Carson Beck did is he checked the football down. And it sounds like we had our Sunday meeting for Read and React. That was the first thing that I said about the Georgia game. And Roman said, I haven't watched it yet, whatever. And he called me and he's like, man, I'm watching Georgia. He's like, you're exactly right. He goes, I can't believe. He's like, this is the game. He's like, these check downs are the game. There was a 1st and 10 that went for a first down. There were 2 2nd and 10s. There was a 3rd and 10, all with Carson Beck just deciding to get the ball down to the running back and let them go pick up yardage. Part of that was because how Georgia Tech defended it. The other part was him playing within the system. He hadn't turned the ball over in his last 4 games. He went for, I think, 11 interceptions in like a 4-game span in the middle of the season after having none the first few games. So if he plays within the scheme, plays within the system, that offensive line can keep him clean, and they're not in 3rd and 10 and 12s and 3rd and 8s the entire game, Georgia's got a good chance to move the ball offensively. But going back to that other side, the other thing that the Georgia defense did extremely well, Josh, they tackled. They tackled in the open field, because Texas got dudes. I mean, they've got thoroughbreds that have real juice when they're in the open field, and Sark knows how to get them in the open field. But the amount of times that a Georgia defender was one-on-one with a Texas receiver or ball carrier out in the perimeter on the flat, and they made that tackle in the last game, that has to happen again if Georgia's going to win this football game.
That first time they played, you were talking about what Georgia did physically, which we all saw. Did it surprise you they did that? It doesn't surprise me when Georgia does that to many people. To do it to the degree they did to Texas in Austin or on the moon, that surprised me a little bit. And looking forward, if Georgia wins Saturday, they win Saturday. But if they do it by imposing their will physically a second time on Texas, a team you've seen in person, I've seen them in person, like that, it's just very hard for me to imagine someone doing that to them once, let alone twice.
It wasn't. It was a little bit surprising, but then when you watched it and you realized how Georgia made Texas wrong a lot in that game, specifically when Georgia was on defense. They did a great job of forcing them into the protections they wanted them to be in, and then they were able to get there, like that corner crash that you see on your screen right there, and they were able to take advantage of it. Not overly surprising, the physicality, Josh, because how many teams have we seen over the years that, whether it's been some of those Nick Saban Alabama teams, some of these Kirby Smart Georgia teams, and we thought, whoa, this is going to be a good matchup, like this is going to be fun to watch, and all of a sudden, here it comes, and that team wasn't ready for it. So some of these super physical SEC teams that we've seen over the years, you kind of got to get in there and throw a couple punches with them to really know what it's going to be all about. Now, like you said, they should have an idea this time. Can they counter that, be a little bit more ready, more prepared? We'll see, but I don't think I was super surprised just because the last few Georgia teams, all those Bama teams, some of those LSU teams, like they hit you in a different way. And if you don't know what that way is, it's going to look like that.
I'll tell you one thing I can't get out of my mind, although I picked Texas to win the game, is remember last year, Georgia's waiting in Atlanta, and it's Alabama who's on the ropes, 4th and 31 in the Iron Bowl, and they just get out of there somehow, some way, and they go to Atlanta, and then they're totally transformed 6 days later. And they play as perfect a game as Alabama can play, but physically they match up with Georgia, probably lean on Georgia a little bit, and you're watching it and you're saying, this is the team that barely got out of Jordan-Hare Stadium 6 days ago? And the answer is, yeah, but they recruit against each other. They're perfectly built to face each other. They staff against each other. And to a degree, that's the Texas-Georgia dynamic. And I'm mentioning that because I got a buddy of mine who is like adamant that the team that showed up and struggled against Georgia Tech and went to 19 overtimes against Georgia Tech versus the team that just really took it to A&M, that's a total mismatch. Well, I get where you're coming from, but we need go back 1 year and 1 year only to watch a team that's struggling the week prior go face the team that looks prime. They're the number one team in the country. They're undefeated. And see who came out on top. And then ask yourself, at the end of those 4 quarters last year in Atlanta, did anyone mention the Iron Bowl at any point that afternoon? And similarly, this Saturday, I could see a scenario where Georgia just goes and takes it to them again, and you're like, boy, that Georgia Tech game feels like it was 19 years ago.
Which is why Sark is one of the more important components of this game. So let's take that Auburn team last year. Hugh Freeze and company, different formations into the boundary, a lot of misdirection, a lot of pin and pull. They stole the eyes of that Georgia defense. Go to what Georgia Tech and Buster Faulkner just did a week ago. They had that defense looking left, looking right, jumping out of gaps, not fitting the run correctly. And then if you don't do that to that football team, they're able to hit you a different way. When that confidence is there and they're able to rev that engine and get a full head of steam coming at you, you're not going to be able to withstand that. Now, if you catch them shifting gears and kind of looking through the GPS, trying to figure out the coordinates, that's going to be a different kind of impact that you're going to get. So if they can steal the eyes, if they can get that defense drifting left and right just a little bit, they'll have that opportunity not to let the physicality overtake them. Texas, that is, but they cannot let those young men get their cleats in the ground and get downhill on them. If they do that, you're in trouble. If you can get them leaning back a little bit and they can get them thinking just a little bit more, moving side to side a little bit too much, that's when you have the opportunity to hit some home runs, because Texas runs on cutbacks have been fantastic this year. Some of the quicker throws to the perimeter where the defense is kind of thinking it might be something inside and they're able to get north and south, those have been great. I mean, think back, Michigan, throws to the perimeter, explosive plays. A couple different games this year for Texas. You spit it out and you're able to go. They didn't do that against Georgia because Georgia wasn't thinking a lot in that game. They were reacting in that game. You want to try to find a way to make that defense think, and that's what Hugh Freeze and Auburn did 2 years ago to Alabama's defense, kind of made them sit back so they didn't have to withstand that punch. It's what Buster Faulkner just did to Georgia last week. Didn't have to sit there and let them get downhill, come right at them. So Sark and company have to make that defense think and not be able to just see ball, get ball, because they're not going to be able to withstand that if they do.